Good morning. This is Sight for Wight News and I'm Vivian.
And this is Imelda reading the Society News for Friday the 30th of November 2018. On Tuesday the 4th of December, the night and coffee morning has been cancelled for this month. The swimming group are swimming at Waterside Pool in Ryde. The pool is closed to the public whilst the group swims. There are male and female volunteers to help you get in and out of the pool, as well as lifeguards to ensure your safety. To join the swimming group, please call the Society first to notify us of your swimming ability without registering with us first. You will not be able to swim with the group. Wednesday the 5th of December, the weekly coffee morning will be held at Millbrook House this week from 10:30 a.m. There will also be our low vision drop-in between 10 a.m. and 12 noon, a weekly event to allow you to view and try the low vision equipment we have at the Society without the need of an appointment. On Thursday the 6th of December, the Thursday social group are meeting at Millbrook House. The group meets from 10:30 until 2. This week, a choir from St Thomas of Canterbury School will be joining us to share some Christmas music. If you would like to join the group or just join us for the singing, please contact the Society on 522205. And then a bit of other news. The digital training session to help make your device more accessible is being held on Tuesday the 4th of December, 10:30 until 1 p.m. at Millbrook House. If you would like to join the group, then please call Laura on 522205 by the end of Monday the 3rd of December. You will need to bring your own mobile phone or tablet device, as well as any necessary login details and passwords. The Riverside Centre in Newport is holding its Christmas fair on Saturday the 8th of December from 11 a.m. till 4 p.m. Sight for Wight will be there with a stall of puzzles and Christmas wreath making. There will also be a variety of other stall holders, together with individual local artists, refreshments and entertainments for all the family. The Sight for Wight members' festive afternoon is being held on Thursday the 13th of December, 2 until 4 p.m. at Millbrook House. There will be mulled wine and mince pies available, and entertainment from Wight Sax. If you would like to come and haven't already registered your interest, then call Laura on 522205. Then the short story writing competition. Later on in the programme, you will hear an audio promotion for the awards ceremony. Dress for Less, Christmas and New Year closure. We will be closing at 1 p.m. on Saturday the 22nd of December and will not be taking any new items on that day. We reopen on Thursday the 3rd of January. Thank you for your support during the last year.
Vectis Radio. Chris Kane, Marketing, Communications and Fundraising Manager, was the guest of Maggie and Calvin Curry for the monthly Insight for Wight slot on Vectis Radio. You can find out how the short story writing competition is coming along and also how the awards ceremony is progressing. The radio show is available to listen to later in the programme. Scam calls. Sadly, there has been another spate of scam calls where the caller claims to be calling from BT. BT say please keep yourself safe. Never open your laptop or computer when requested over the phone. If you are a BT customer, phone 150 to discuss any call you receive. Non-BT customers should call 0800 800 150. Melodic Choir, who are singing at the Short Story Writing Awards ceremony, will also be singing at Gurnard Pines on Thursday, the 13th of December, 7 p.m. for 7:30 p.m. start, and at Northwood House, 1:45 for 2:15 start. Tickets are available from the box office at Northwood House, www.northwoodhouse.org/events, or 293-642. Ticket in advance, adults £8, children up to 16 years of age £6, under 4s are free. The proceeds from these events are being shared between Sight for Wight and Northwood House. Now we come to scaffolding news. Cows and East Cows. Current scaffolds: 93 High Street Cows, scaffold up within hoarding. Cows Library, Beckford Road Cows. Brunswick Court, Medina Road Cows. 104 High Street Cows. Island Sailing Centre, 70 High Street Cows. Flat 19 Buckler's View, Worsley Road, Gurnard. 91 Upper Yarborough Road, East Cows. The Painters Arms, 51 Cross Street Cows. Current hoardings, 93 High Street Cows. New Skips, 19 Bernard Road Cows. Newport area, current scaffolding, Cancer Research Shop, 116 High Street, Newport. The EE Shop, 122 High Street, Newport. Cash Recycle Shop, 140 High Street, Newport. Monsoon, Blue Door, St James's Square, Newport. Chantry House, 30 Pyle Street, Newport. 39 Key Street, Newport. Current skips, 32 Victoria Road, Newport. New skips, 38 Highfield Road, Newport. Building materials, EE Shop, 122 High Street, Newport. Ryde, Bembridge and Seaview, current scaffolds. Boots, 170 High Street, Ryde. Hills Court, High Street, Ryde. Pier View Court, St Thomas's Street, Ryde. Seaview Pharmacy, Pier Road, Seaview. Current skips are at 32 Fallen Road, Bembridge. Carita, Stane Road, Seaview. 21 to 23 St Michael's Avenue, Ryde. New skips, 2 Spithead Close, Seaview. 90A Monk Street, Ryde. 6 Winton Street, Ryde. Building materials and hoarding, car park, Brooks Road, Bembridge.
And in Sandown and Shanklin, we have current scaffolds at Premier Inn, 1 to 9, Esplanade, Sandown. The Toy Master, 103 High Street, Sandown. Sandown Library, 119 High Street, Sandown. Sandringham Hotel, Esplanade, Sandown. Turkish Delight, 12B High Street, Sandown. Wilma Dorkin and Vermiper Cottages, Church Street, Newchurch. And new scaffolds will be at 4B Station Avenue, Sandown. Current hoardings are Premier Inn, 1 to 9 Esplanade, Sandown, the junction of Boniface Road / Arthur's Hill, Shanklin. And in the Ventnor area, current scaffolds are corner of Trinity Road and Madeira Road, Ventnor, 1 Boniface Road and into Trinity Road, Ventnor. And new scaffolding is Jobson's Farm, Newport Road, Knighton. And current skips are Seascape, St Catherine's Road, Ventnor. And this week in touch. The newest star of Doctor Who, the early symptoms of a rare form of Alzheimer's disease known as posterior cortical atrophy, presents problems for people in seeing and making sense of the world. The disease starts in the visual cortex at the back of the brain. Its impact is devastating and its progression is aggressive. Doug Banks, who is 58 and has PCA, likens it to looking through a shattered mirror. He talks to Peter Wight about the other ways it affects his life. Alzheimer's Research UK Chief Medical Officer David Reynolds tells us what's happening to Doug's brain. College student and young actor Ellie Walwalk has had her big break. She is to play the lead guest role in Sunday's episode of Doctor Who. She tells Peter Wight how she got the part and what acting fits into her future aspirations. The presenter, Peter Wight, the producer, Lee Kumutat.
We have one headline: snared by hunters. Child sex offender plotted to meet girl 14 for sex in Portsmouth. Robert Catlin sent sexual pictures to someone he thought was a 14-year-old girl, only to discover it was actually a self-styled paedophile hunter. Caitlin, 37, admitted attempting to meet a child for sex and engaging in sexual communication with a child when he appeared before Isle of Wight magistrates today, Tuesday. He also admitted possessing 3 extreme pornographic images depicting bestiality, which police found on his phone. Anne Smout, prosecuting, said Caitlin believed he was talking on Facebook with a 14-year-old girl called Faye. In fact, she said, it was a member of a paedophile hunter group. He made it absolutely clear he wished to have sexual intercourse with her. He sent pictures of his penis to her, said Mrs. Smout. She kept saying she had never had this kind of experience before and was only 14. The court heard that Catlin arranged to meet Faye in Portsmouth but did not turn up. He was reported to the police, who seized his phones and laptop. Catlin told police he was not sexually attracted to children or young girls. He said he didn't meet her because he knew it was wrong, said Mrs. Smout. However, she said the records of their conversations made it absolutely clear he intended to meet the girl for sex. In mitigation, Barry Arnott said Catlin was a vulnerable person who had cooperated fully with police. Mr. Arnott asked the probation service to prepare a pre-sentence report. He said these cases are often better dealt with by a community order to prevent harm. The case was adjourned to the Isle of Wight Crown Court. Catlin of Crossway, Bembridge, is due to be sentenced on December the 21st.
Farewell to old friend Henry. The oldest donkey at the Isle of Wight Donkey Sanctuary, Henry, has died. Henry was left fighting for his life after suffering a stroke early on Monday. Donkey supporters united under the Pray for Henry hashtag on social media, wishing him well. He was cared for by the farm staff and vets in his final hours. Henry was a deep red roan and white donkey, 47 years old, and was one of the sanctuary's popular senior citizens. A spokesperson for the sanctuary said he passed away next to his friend Bulrush, and with his human carers around him. Everybody is very, very upset. Henry has given enormous pleasure to visitors and staff.
Full steam ahead for PS Ride restoration. The PS Ride has been saved from the scrap heap as restoration enthusiasts have entered into a contract to buy the vessel. As previously reported, the dilapidated paddle steamer, also known as the Ride Queen, caught the eye of restorer Lisa Turner, who owns a ship restoration company. She organised a fundraiser to get the purchase started, and last week she and her team signed the contract for the ship's purchase. It will be a 24-month venture starting in April. The vessel must be broken into 8 sections and taken away for restoration work. Lisa said, In March, I contacted Island Harbour about possibly buying Ride Queen, as many people said she was just decaying. When I first saw her, I just fell in love with her. It's not every day you find a paddle steamer. Yes, she is very delicate, but this is a war veteran, a holiday romance, old-fashioned elegance at its best. After a very long 9 months, we can now announce we signed the contract for purchase. We will be continuing to fundraise while we start our funding applications, and we look forward to working with Island Harbour, National Historic Ships and all other companies which we are slowly appointing.
Charity hit by council ruling on bin collections. Small cut, big impact, says Imogen True, who wrote this. A food for free project, recycling initiatives and community schemes may have to end at Aspire Ride after the Isle of Wight Council removed its waste bins and stopped collecting recycling and rubbish. In a letter to the centre, the council told Aspire it would stop the collection and begin treating the community centre as a commercial property. The council said it was committed to supporting charities where possible, but was bound by legislation. Aspire Ride may have to spend money on a commercial waste contract, meaning some of its projects will now break even or run at a loss. Aspire Chief Executive Heath Monaghan said, "It's another example of where the Isle of Wight Council is hitting the most impoverished in the community. We have tried to discuss the matter with the council, but they have not been helpful. It's a small financial cutback with big impacts." These projects are often a lifeline for people with mental health needs. They reduce isolation, help combat food poverty, and encourage learning. Aspire Ride will host a public meeting today, Friday, at 9:30 a.m. to discuss the impact and ask for ideas from the community to help solve the problems. Reaction to the announcement on Facebook have called the council's decision appalling and branded the authority out of touch with our island communities. One said, "This will take away the only lifeline some people have and will cost the council more than it saves in support services." A council spokesperson said, "Waste produced by a charitable organisation in the day-to-day operation of its activities and business is classified as commercial waste with a reduced charge." Ride Aspire has been in communication with the council for a number of weeks regarding the services they have been accidentally receiving for free for the past 2 years. We are committed to support charities where possible and will treat all charities in an equitable way on the island. As officers of the council, we are bound to act in compliance with the various pieces of legislation that govern us. The council has also suggested alternative low-cost solutions, including a waste carrier licence, and reiterated it is happy to work with the team at Aspire to find a solution.
Island ambulance crews have 9 no-go addresses. Ambulance crews will not attend 9 addresses on the Isle of Wight without a police escort. The island has the lowest number of red-flagged addresses with North West Ambulance Service, revealing 756 addresses they will not attend without a police presence. The Isle of Wight NHS Trust said it could not reveal where on the island the addresses were. Earlier this year, Isle of Wight ambulance staff revealed being attacked by a drunk teenager and threatened with a lit cigarette were just some of the incidents they faced on a daily basis. In 2016-17, there were 189 assaults on staff, of which 13 were criminal acts and dealt with by the police. There were also 374 reports of verbal abuse. Meanwhile, security were called 411 times to assist on the wards at St Mary's Hospital with situations such as violence and aggression, verbal altercations causing alarm and distress, and missing patients. New rules introducing tougher sentences for anyone convicted of assaulting an emergency worker became law in September. The new maximum sentence for an offence of assault or battery against healthcare staff or emergency workers is now 6 to 12 months in prison. Head of the Isle of Wight Ambulance Service, Victoria Wight, said, "We abhor violence against ambulance staff, which will not be tolerated. We will support any action that would see the perpetrators punished to the full extent of the law."
Proposals for harbours slated. Ryde Harbour could be sold or rented out, and Ventnor Haven run by a third party under the latest Isle of Wight Council proposals. The authority claims both harbours will require investments of around £1.2 million and will lose £515,000 over the next 10 years. Ryde Harbour could be sold with a clause the site may only be used as a harbour and marina. However, Ventnor could come under new management. Currently, the council says £75,120, it pays £75,120 annually to Cheetah Marine to recover algae from the harbour, a cost the council says is not sustainable. The authority also owns the Ventnor Haven freehold and has granted a 125-year lease to Ventnor Haven Fishery, owned by the Blake family, for part of the harbour. The council report said transferring the haven to a third party would result in a significant saving to the council. Last year, the Ventnor Harbour accrued a net loss of £160,000. However, Ed Blake said the loss did not take into account money raised from leasing, business rates, or the amount of jobs and business Ventnor Haven Fishery and Cheetah Marine brought into Ventnor. He said the figure is an accountant's figure. They've also included a depreciation value, but rocks don't depreciate. The harbour cost £1.2 million to build, and those rocks are still worth £1.2 million. He said, bringing in an external management company would not save the council money. Ventnor would not exist without the harbour, and if they want to put a knife into the heart of Ventnor, it's not worth it for the amount they say they'll save.
Councillors told to quit. A parish council faces legal action and further calls for resignations over the controversial sale of a community asset. More than 10 residents have signed an open letter to the group of 7 councillors who have backed the sale of 5 to 7 High Street, Bembridge. It calls for those members to halt the sale, renew the leases and tender their immediate resignation after the parish council accepted a lower offer for the property. As previously reported, the selling of 5 to 7 High Street has proved highly controversial in the village, with residents voting against the move in 2 parish polls. This week, Peter Burke, who has an office there, told the county press he had attempted to buy the building for the community, but his initial offer, which included a buyback option for a future parish council or community group, was rejected. He said he increased it by £15,000 and added a further incentive to keep the public toilets open at an annual peppercorn rent of £1. But that too was turned down, he claimed, in favour of a lower offer. Soon after, he claimed his lease renewal was withdrawn. Mr. Burke said he was now taking legal action against the council over its decision to accept a lower offer. He said, "It would be a disaster for me to have to move, and it's a glorious space that has been a great place for me to work for the past decade. I still think it could make a great community art gallery or parish space in the future." A councillor who voted against the sale, Alistair Stain, told the county press he could not understand why a lower offer for the building had been accepted. One resident said all the decisions had been made secretly and none had been announced officially to the village community. Bembridge Parish Council declined to comment.
Man conned out of £25,000. Fraudsters posing as police officers conned an elderly man out of £25,000. Police issued an appeal urging people to be aware of the scam. The West Wight man, aged in his 80s, was called on Saturday by a man pretending to be a detective constable from the Metropolitan Police Service. Police said the so-called officer said he was investigating a theft conspiracy. He passed the victim to another number to confirm the officer's identity and then spoke to the victim again. He stated he had a colleague working on the island who was visiting a number of people and then asked the victim to transfer two sums of money to different bank accounts, stating he would be tracing where the funds went. This was a scam, and the officer was not a legitimate police officer. The victim made two transactions totalling £25,000 before dialing 999. Police received 3 similar reports on the island during the following 2 days. The 3 people also contacted by phone did not hand over any money. In a similar scam, fraudsters have posted as police officers investigating a jeweller for selling counterfeit items and asked victims to buy expensive goods. The appeal warned, police officers or bank officials would never ask you for money. If someone does call you in this way, hang up. Always try to use another phone line to report this to the police by calling 101. Never give out personal or bank details to anyone who contacts you unexpectedly. Never tell anyone your PIN number.
Cash for heritage. 3 coastal heritage sites on the Isle of Wight have been awarded restoration funding, although one project is no longer going ahead. The government's Coastal Revival Fund granted £50,000 each to the main rotunda entrance at Northwood House, the dining car in Ryde and Battery Gardens in Sandown. The dining car on Ryde Esplanade was to be converted by Isle Access into a station cafe with an accessible training kitchen and accessible information and assistance point. However, Isle Access confirmed this week it was no longer going ahead with the project, and trustees have been in touch with the fund and would not be receiving the money. Northwood House will see the roof of the main rotunda entrance repaired. The battery recharged in Sandown will be restored to house the National Poo Museum.
Charities' plans for former youth centre. Cowes-based maritime youth charity UKSA has signed a 50-year lease on the Cowes Youth Centre. Adjacent to UKSA, on the Cowes waterfront, the Isle of Wight council-owned youth centre is a 2-storey building with a sports hall and gym facilities. The building has been out of use for several years, but is about to be given a new lease of life. The community will be able to hire the upgraded facilities for events such as sports competitions and regular activities such as five-a-side football. Also, the addition of a sports hall and gym to UKSA's existing indoor swimming pool will benefit the community and the Academy's students. Councillor Aurora P.C. Wilcox said, "I'm very grateful to the commitment showed by UKSA in bringing forward the sports hall and gym for public use. I appreciate it has been a very long, drawn-down situation, but I hope people will find facilities useful. The building has stood empty for far too long. I look forward to meeting the first group of residents who book the hall. UKSA's plans include the installation of wheelchair access to the sports hall, the installation of CCTV and door entry systems, the creation of a secure access route for students between UKSA and the new centre, the installation of a simulation suite for navigation training, and the conversion of 2 large halls into 4 classrooms."
Crashed car had 8 on board. 8 people were inside a car which careered off the road and rolled onto its roof in Freshwater, a court heard. 1 passenger suffered a compound leg fracture in the accident in Colwell Road on July the 9th. Willow Hughes Thomas, 30, of Clarendon Road, Shanklin, admitted 1 charge of causing serious injury by dangerous driving and a further offence of drink driving when she appeared before Isle of Wight magistrates last Friday. The court heard a passing ambulance discovered the vehicle, which had careered off the road and was on its roof at around 2:30 a.m. The court was told Hughes Thomas was not excessively over the drink driver limit, but there had been 8 people in the Citroen C1 at the time, which may have affected its stability. The seriously injured passenger said he had very little memory of what happened. When he regained consciousness, the vehicle was upside down and empty. He looked down at his leg and could see the bone protruding, said Vivian Ducey, prosecuting. Hughes Thomas, of previous good character, gave a reading of 61 milligram. The legal limit is 35. Representing Hughes Thomas, Barry Arnott said all the people in the car had been willing participants and his client had had no intention of letting them into the vehicle. They had been out together and she did not think she was over the limit. However, they said they were not going far and she gave them a lift. Mr. Arnott said there were at least 4 in the back. There is no suggestion she was speeding. She accepted it was dangerous to drive with that number of people. She said no, but they said they would be all right. The case was adjourned for sentence until December the 21st at the Isle of Wight Crown Court. Magistrates imposed an interim driving ban and granted her bail.
Civic behaviour? Not by this thief. The owner of a car which was dismantled by a thief for its parts has been cheered by people offering him to restore it. Dave Cooley, 31, found his car torn apart in Carisbrooke car park, with a window smashed and the bonnet and other parts completely removed. He was disappointed when the police chose not to attend the scene, and then he was notified by his insurance company it would not be classed as a crime, so he would lose his many years of no-claim bonus. Mr. Cooley discovered the damage to his 2002 Honda Civic on Saturday morning, but after widespread social media coverage, he was sent a message offering replacement parts. He told the county press, "I've lived on the island my whole life and I was saddened to become the victim of a crime." This was upsetting enough, but even more so was the police wouldn't even attend the scene. What protection is there for law-abiding citizens on the island? Not only is this no longer the safe island I was raised in, but what hope is there for victims of crimes such as this? A statement from the Hampshire Constabulary said, "A full report was taken over the phone, as is usual with this type of incidents, and it was explained to the victim there would be no police deployment as no current lines of inquiry were identified. We prioritise our resources to deal with a range of different incidents as appropriate. This can differ depending on a number of factors, including whether a crime is in progress or if there are potential forensic opportunities. If anyone has any information about the incident, they can call us on 101, quoting 441 804 40198. Mr. Cooley said, "I would like to publicly say a massive thank you to all those who have been in touch offering help. People have been amazingly supported, from offers of cars replacement parts and advice. Who'd have thought social media was good for something? The hunt is still on for the culprits, but for now I'm just looking forward to getting my car back together so I can take my family out on some Christmassy adventures."
Stolen scooters found. A man who had 2 mobility scooters stolen from his home in Sandown over the weekend was pleased to receive a call on Wednesday from firefighters who had recovered them. Firefighters from Sandown Fire Station recovered the larger of the 2 scooters that had been dumped in a stream behind Sandown Bowls Club near Sandham Gardens. On Monday, a picture of the scooter was posted in a lost and found group on Facebook. On Tuesday, the second scooter was seen in a park off Lake Hill, the road between Sandown and Lake, and posted on the same group. Kevin Coughlin, 80, of Station Avenue, told the county press he was grateful to the Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service. However, he said, "Unfortunately, the one left in the river has to be scrapped as it's so damaged, and I've got a mechanic coming over to take a look at the other one. A huge thank you to the services for bringing them back to me. They are very good, but the end result is they are still damaged beyond repair."
Vape ads removed from buses. Southern Vectis admitted on Monday it was inappropriate for its school bus fleet to carry adverts featuring the smoking alternative vaping. The bus company said the adverts were not controlled by the firm and it has already taken steps to have it removed. Simon Moy, operation manager, said, "Although ads on Southern Vectis buses are controlled by an external company and are aimed at those looking from the outside rather than by passengers on board, we absolutely agree this particular advertisement is inappropriate for school buses. We have already taken steps to have it removed, and we are also putting plans in place to ensure ads of this nature do not appear on school buses in the future." One parent who spotted the vaping advert told the county press, "Given fast food adverts near schools are due to be banned, don't we think it a basic duty not to advertise or promote smoking of any kind near school children?"
Beach hut rent rise approved. A controversial hike in beach hut prices has now been decided, unless another councillor decides to call the decision back for debate. Isle of Wight Council Cabinet Member for Finance, Councillor Stuart Hutchinson, made the decision to increase charges for beach huts under delegated powers. When the plans were first announced in May, furious beach hut owners said it was immoral to impose a rent rise of up to 400%. The ground rent for huts on council-owned land is £308 a year. However, the new valuation could see the figure rise to between £606 and £1,336. Huts of more than 10 square metres all face a rent increase of more than £1,000. However, the council said the changes would be phased in over 5 years, with a review at the end of the second year.
Drug driver in 50-mile-per-hour chase. A drug driver chased through Pan by police has admitted a string of driving offences. David William Saunders, 26, of Highfield Road, Newport, was arrested following the police chase near his home on September the 9th. Appearing at the Isle of Wight Magistrates' Course on Monday, he admitted dangerous driving, drug driving, and driving without a licence or insurance. The court heard officers in a marked police car spotted his Audi A3 making a sharp turn into Robin Hood Street at around noon, suggesting he was trying to get away from them. Anne Smout, prosecuting, said a pursuit through the estate, largely a 20-mile-an-hour limit, ensued. She said Saunders drove at 55 miles an hour in a 30-mile-per-hour zone towards Asda and through a no-entry sign in a panicked attempt to evade the police. With blue lights flashing and a siren sounding, the officers chased Saunders until he stopped the car at Barton Road. He was then arrested. Mrs. Smouse said officers considered the risks before giving chase. Considering it was a Sunday and there was very little traffic or pedestrians, they felt it was safe. Once apprehended, Saunders was tested for drugs. Both a roadway swab and subsequent blood test confirmed he had cannabis in his system. He gave a reading of 7, the legal limit is 2. Saunders told police he had smoked a joint around an hour before getting behind the wheel. He said he didn't have a driving licence due to a medical condition. The court heard he suffered from seizures and was not permitted to drive. The case was adjourned to the Isle of Wight Crown Court for sentencing on December the 21st.
Call for Council to take over Quays. The Isle of Wight Council could take control of Venture Quays after the developer behind the multi-million regeneration plan pulled out of the project. As reported, Hong Kong-based Victoria Quay Estates Limited, VQEL, axed its plans to transform the East Cowes waterfront with a 400-berth marina, plush townhouses, a hotel, bars and manicured public gardens. It prompted the chief executive of Wight Shipyard, one of the companies due to be relocated from the site following its regeneration, to brand the scheme an utter balls up that had caused huge stress and uncertainty. Ireland MP Bob Seeley this week called on the government and Homes England, which owns the site, to support a new plan, one which would see the Isle of Wight Council and the island's shipbuilding community acquire the site. In a letter sent to the Department for Communities and Local Government, Mr. Seeley said the council should not have to pay for the site. If it did, he said payment should be deferred until after the development had been completed. We are asking for this because uncertainty over the site will put hundreds of jobs at risk on the island in our shipbuilding industry, he said. I want to make the government very aware of that situation. We cannot allow poor or slow decision-making from Homes England to cost jobs in my constituency. Mr. Seeley said the council supported the scheme, which would secure the future of the highly skilled marine manufacturing jobs in companies currently on temporary lease arrangements, thereby enabling further planned growth in a sector vital to the island's economy. He said, in addition, the council would also seek to secure the wider regeneration of East Cowes, working in partnership with the community, business and other key stakeholders, addressing affordable housing needs and remaining community facilities missing from current proposals. We are arguing this because the economic viability of schemes on the Isle of Wight is quite often marginal. Development is therefore hampered by the relatively short timescales many investors seek to secure a return on their investment. The Council, with the support of the MP and the wider business community, is able to take a longer-term strategic view for the benefit of the whole island community and develop the site when the conditions are right. He said the likelihood of Homes England securing a developmental partner was minimal, as VQEL was the only company to submit a serious bid. We need to do all we can to ensure the site is not sold to the private sector in order to protect its availability for marine and maritime industries for future generations. A short-term gain from a private investment could turn into long-term damage to the island if it cannot make the site work. East Cowes has had sufficient uncertainty for too many years and needs a foundation from which it can start to regenerate economically and socially.
Donations help Scouts hit by vandalism. A Scout group which fell victim to thoughtless vandalism last month has received generous donations from concerned islanders. Vandals smashed the skylight windows at Shanklin Scout Hut, meaning the group had to use its hard-earned money to do repairs rather than on its ongoing refurbishment project. Several Scouts spoke of their disappointment and sadness over the accident. However, Linda Callum and Liz Tizard donated money to cover the cost of the repairs to the vandalised windows. Linda is a local businesswoman who read about the situation in the county press, and Liz is a member of the First Newport Scouts. Scout leader Vic Mann said, "With these unexpected donations, the money raised during October keep our hut overall on track. We can't thank Liz and Linda enough." Steve Goodyear, Scout chairman, said, "I would like to say a massive thank you to Linda and Liz for their generous donations. It's important to keep the building up to date and open for the young people of the Isle of Wight."
Councillors fails in bid to reopen LAC debate. A bid to re-scrutinise the Isle of Wight Council's decision to act as a community coordinator service has failed. Member for Ryde East, Councillor Michael Lilly, attempted to call the decision back for further debate. Councillor Lilly claimed there was not enough evidence to make an objective decision of the plans to cut the local area coordinators, LAC. He added the Cabinet did not take into account the comments of the scrutiny committee which recommended the Council retained the service. However, the monitoring officer for the Isle of Wight Council said, "I do not consider this matter can be called in as it has been the subject of an item on the scrutiny committee. Observations were made to the Cabinet and I am satisfied it is demonstrated these were taken into account when making the decision. The decision can therefore be implemented. There is no appeal process for the decision." Councillor Lilly said, "I believe this is a social injustice and a failed opportunity to get to the truth. I apologise to island residents for failing in getting this wrong. Decision back into scrutiny."
Tourism chairman retires. Visit Isle of Wight is looking for a new chairperson after current chair Simon Dabell announced his retirement. Mr. Dabell is to retire at the end of the year. His 6-year tenure has been the growth of the organisation and developed many partnerships. Mr. Dabell said, "It is time for someone else to take up the role and be prepared to get involved in every aspect of the work of Visit Isle of Wight, matching the dedication and industriousness this team here demonstrates every day." The chairperson's main role is to lead Visit Isle of Wight's governance board, which sets and implements the company's strategy. The new chair will be paid $10,000 a year for the equivalent of 1 day a week's work. Applicants must have experience in a leadership role within the tourism business sector, but should also be independent from any tourism business. And with that, this is the end of our part, the first part of the reading of the county press. So it's goodbye from Imelda and have a good weekend.
And it's goodbye from Vivian.
Good morning, I'm Jan.
And hello everyone, that's Mike.
And we're just going to read the second half of the county press, starting with the letters pages. First letter is, "Why did our MP patronise waspy women?" is the question. This is from Vix Lothian of Freshwater. Regarding Bob Seeley, MP's statement in the House this week on the WASPI campaign for fair pensions for women born in the 1950s. Could our MP be any more patronising? While representing the WASPy women, he referred to them in the House of Commons debate as found in the Women's Institute making jam. These women are strong, skilled, independent workers who are having to find time to fight against poverty, discrimination and unfairness. They are seeking not only a transitional arrangement, but compensation, which Mr. Seeley does not support. Many are forced into full-time work while also caring for husbands and children at an age where they had not known the government had such plans. Mr. Seeley says, "It would have been nice for the budget to recognise their position. It actually would have been fair, equitable and supportive for government to listen to the WASPy women. Instead, the Conservative Pensions Minister refused to take on board such demands as, 'It would be unfair to others.' Government must listen to the WASPy women and act. Their dreadful situation is part of a much wider gender pay gap, which effectively sees women work for free from November the 3rd this year, when average salaries are compared. Government must address this through greater support for mothers and women to take on caring responsibilities which affect their earning potential. Additionally, Mr. Seeley spoke of waving placards in a derogatory fashion. In reality, this is an activity which comes as a result of his party's policies and his party's failure to listen. I see an increasing number of us who play a positive role in our communities have been forced under his government to protest against NHS cuts, education failures, environmental disasters, and gender inequality. Rather than dismissing us all as natural protesters, he would do well to sit down, listen, speak up, and act in the best interest of his constituents." Below is a quote from Mr. Seeley's contribution to the WASPy debate. 10,000 or so WASPy women in my constituency are certainly not natural protesters who wave a placard at the first opportunity. In fact, they have played a very positive role in our communities throughout the years. They are to be found in the Women's Institute, making jam, and in many other voluntary groups. It is deeply disappointing that any government should treat them in such a disrespectful way. Considering that the Chancellor announced more money in the recent budget, it would have been nice if that budget had given the WASPy women some recognition.
And the saga of Seeley is continued. May and Seeley should listen. And that's from Malcolm and Avril Turner of Totland Bay. We are most concerned that our MP, Bob Seeley, feels the interest of the Isle of Wight constituency will be well served by the Brexit secured by this deal, and is supporting the Prime Minister. Most people do not know exactly what this deal is, or exactly what the 585-page draft withdrawal agreement produced by the EU contains. It is full of references to references and not written in a way that most of us could decipher. Fortunately for us, the European Research Group, that's the ERG, has made a précis of this document, which makes it very clear that this Brexit proposed in the PM's document is far from the Brexit voted for in the 2016 referendum and by 62% of the Isle of Wight constituents. It is not a clean break from the jurisdiction of the EU, and leaves us half in and half out of the European Union. We will be handing the EU vast sums of money with nothing guaranteed to return. It will create internal borders within the UK, and the EU will be in control of the agreement, with large areas of EU law directly effective in the UK. We will become a vassal state with no right to determine our own future. The ERG document can be found online, together with another very interesting article which explains the EU draft withdrawal agreement, which is almost in breach of international human rights conventions. https://brexitcentral.com/proposed withdrawal agreement breaches international human rights. It is not right this Remain Prime Minister, who has vowed to honour a full Brexit to the electorate, should now concede our sovereignty to the EU. It is time for the Conservative MPs to rise up and be counted by the electorate, the majority of whom voted to leave. At best, the PM needs to listen to the majority of our country.
And this is a letter from C. Malcolm Peplow of Yarmouth. During the afternoon of Wednesday, November the 21st, I alighted the number 7 bus at Cranmore Avenue. No sooner had I sat down than a young man across the aisle asked me if I had a mobile phone. He was obviously unwell and needed to contact his family to collect him from his destination. By the time this was achieved, it was time for me to get hastily off. It was not until a few hours later, when I was going out for the evening, that I realised my wallet was missing. Fortunately, a phone call to Southern Vectis assured me that my wallet, complete with cash and cards, had been handed in to the driver. No need to phone my bank and cancel my cards. I would just like to thank whoever it was who handed my wallet to the driver, and to let them know that I will make a suitably large donation to the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Air Ambulance as a means of expressing my gratitude.
Back to Mr. Seeley. MP could be challenged over Brexit decision. This is from Jonathan Fitzgerald Bond of Ventnor. 62% of the Isle of Wight voted to leave in the referendum. Our MP, who seems to have no interest in what his constituents think, has made no attempt to support them. The next election should be interesting, especially if an independent, pro-Brexit Conservative decides to stand against him.
And from Spike Hughes of Bembridge. Bembridge Parish Council is controlled from within by a group of people who refuse to listen to the public. And as a result, we now face massive legal bills to pay for their mismanagement and obstinacy. They have broken promises about leases made to the village. They have they have accepted a low offer and rejected a much higher one for the purchase of a publicly owned asset, and have paved the way for a judicial review, which we have just learnt is now being prepared. While doing this, they have ignored the public completely, refusing to discuss it openly, censoring public comment, failing to provide a rational basis for selling, ignoring advice from qualified local professionals offered for free, and insisting on a level of secrecy that has to be seen to be believed. Not forgetting, of course, the unfounded allegations of vexatious behaviour they have made against two respected parishioners, and which they now refuse to either discuss or apologise for. If they resigned today, it wouldn't be too soon.
Cobbler's Awls to headline. This is from Robert Medway of Godshill. Perhaps I should have written to you before, because our whole family finds the county press a compelling and interesting read. Thank you and congratulations. Further, we have a neighbour who asked us to pass it on to her, and I heard last week she passes the same copy on to a former islander who now lives on the mainland. I am currently holding this week's edition, and the headline, "What a Balls Up," immediately hit me. A poor headline in low language, bringing the reputation of an otherwise excellent periodical into disrepute with poor taste and judgment. It is not clever, and if it is supposed to be stunning, it misses the mark. This type of language may be okay for the street, but for the front page of the county press, surely not. I looked it up online in the dictionary, and it is under the title vulgar language. I guess that is why the exclamation marks instead of the double L. Today's meaning is a vulgar expression for a disastrous situation. The original meaning was from the days of wooden sailing ships, when the existence of a shipboard disaster such as plague, lack of food or water, mutiny, etc., was communicated to the outside world by hoisting large, brightly painted wooden balls up into the rigging. You may say that it is simply quoting the business owner, but I still suggest you should not use such language as a headline. In my opinion, there would be a difference in the language used in the pub and the language of the front page. Below are some possible alternatives. Perhaps your more erudite readers would give you some better alternatives than the vulgar one chosen. And these are the recommendations. What a mess up. What a chaotic muddle or alliteration to emphasise. Delusional development. Cows, chaos. Cows, calamity. But balls up? No thanks. Wishing you and your staff every success. And there's an editor's footnote which says, "Mea culpa, the headline was used to highlight a serious point from a respected businessman, but if offence was caused, I apologise."
And another letter back to Brexit, subject to Brexit. Brexiteers should be held to account, from Janet Beckett of Ryde. The letters of Ian Mackay and Tim Bristow in the County Press of the 23rd of November present contrasting but equally flawed assessments of how the mess that is Brexit can be redeemed. Tim Bristow proposes we sign up to the withdrawal agreement with the EU because when we leave in March, we can simply tear up any sections, in brackets backstop and customs union, etc., that we don't like, with few consequences. Unlikely as this is, it suggests a vision of a newly sovereign Britain that doesn't negotiate in good faith and casually repudiates or avoids international agreements. Not the ideal reputation we'd wish for when seeking new trading partners. Ian Mackay still insists, despite the evidence of 2 years of fraught negotiations, that we can simply walk away from the EU of our own free will. The impossibility of this idea was very clear before the referendum, and the best, if bumbling, efforts of Davis, Johnson, Fox and Gove have done nothing to revise this view. Even if it was the will of the people, it is simply not possible to walk away from such an extraordinarily complex agreement. Absurdly, Ian Mackay sees the villains as MPs who will support Mrs May's admittedly inadequate proposal, when it should be the loudest voices for Brexit who must be held to account for their many exaggerated and often dishonest claims, and for slinking off to the margins when it became clear they could not be delivered.
Paul Armfield did a wonderful job at Key Arts. And this is from John Rhodes of Carisbrooke. Following the report, which was the County Press the 23rd of November this year, that manager Paul Armfield is leaving Key Arts, I would like, as a regular customer of the Quay, to thank Paul for all he has done there over the last 2.5 years. I have been going to the Quay for over 20 years, benefiting from the efforts of at least 5 different managers, all of whom have done wonderful work. Paul, however, with a combination of innovation, inspiration, dedication and sheer hard work, has raised the venue up several levels. He has opened the place up to the wider community, developed the cafe into one of the best eateries on the island, brought us many different genres of music from across the world, and made the Quay into the vibrant, lively, welcoming and enjoyable asset that it is today. For all of this, he is deserving of our grateful appreciation. His decision to move on is a sad thing for the Quay and all its customers, but I am sure all of us would like to wish him all the very best in his future endeavours.
From Michael Poland of Wroxall. The sea eagle is a beautiful bird. It is always exciting to see it. However, apart from the evidence-based farmers' opposition to its introduction on the island, there are real concerns about its impact on wildlife. The island's ecosystems have continued to evolve since the last sea eagle left the island 240 years ago. How it would abruptly adapt to the introduction of the arch avian predator is a real and worrying question. Helped by hundreds of thousands of DEFRA grants, the Isle of Wight has developed a natural environment biodiversity, one of the finest in the UK. The project's advocates describe the bird as a general predator, taking medium-sized mammals and wildfowl, such as ducks, geese and the coot. We are also informed the eagle robs gulls, raptors and otters of their prey. No mention is the strong anecdotal evidence from Scotland is their prey includes the skylark, lapwing and other ground-nesting birds. Of the 67 red-listed species in the Birds of Conservation Concern, over 40% of them are recorded on the Isle of Wight. How much damage can the sea eagle do before it is realised? The small mammals would include the declining hare population, especially young leverets, hedgehogs, stoats, young badgers, if seen in daylight, and a whole range of small field mammals. The kid goats in the National Trust Reserve Boniface Down could also be added to the prey list. Small animals further covers cats and small dogs. Dog losses to eagles in Scotland are rare but well known. The Isle of Mull is frequently illustrated as a sea eagle success story, yet Mull is 2.5 times the size of the Isle of Wight. Its population is 3.1 persons per square kilometre, compared to the Isle of Wight's 364.2 per square kilometre. The urban pressure upon the eagles would be unprecedented, thus increasing the danger of it taking more wild agricultural and domestic prey. As the recent consultation organised by the project managers for farmers, the managers were repeatedly asked what would happen if the sea eagles were found to cause undue damage to the Isle of Wight. The sea eagle is heavily protected, and there are no legally available means of eradication or control. They were totally unable to answer this question. We have been warned.
And we hear Better for Bikes from Margaret Hopkins and Woolley of Bembridge. The lady who wrote about the work of Island Roads, that's County Press letters section on the 23rd of November this year, who have smoothed them for us cyclists, has written what I wanted to write during the last 2 years. I heartily agree with what she said. Whenever I see the men working on the roads and I am on my bike, I thank them. They have made such a difference to cyclists. We are more than grateful.
Now, looking back, the regular looking back column, we start 100 years ago. A post-war general election took place, and all the omens pointed to the certainty of a great victory for the Island Coalition candidate, Captain Douglas Hall. Captain Hall was fully recognised by the leaders of the government due to the fact that he had done valuable naval, military and munition work from the very first days of the war. The county press reported he had worked tirelessly for the island. Several island men were released from Turkish prisons. 9 prisoners of war from the Hampshire Regiment travelled home to the island. It was reported that they were in good health and spirits.
75 years ago, December the 4th, 1943, when making the journey to Southampton, a motor barge owner by the Vectis shipping company was involved in a collision in the Solent and sank in deep water. The barge, named the Gazelle, was about 50 tons and one of the oldest barges trading between the island and the mainland. It was carrying 20 tons of potatoes, 5 tons of beef and 11 tons of veg. Also, an island man oversaw the clearing of mines from mountains in Italy. Corporal Raymond J. Phillips of Cowes described the process. We're working on mist, mud and driving rain, looking for mines which contain enough explosives to blow a jeep sky high. He said the men he worked with were as nonchalant as if they were looking for ground nuts.
And 50 years ago, the first Benedictine nunnery in India was founded by the nuns of St Cecilia's Abbey, Ryde. The £23,000 building was completed, ready for the 7 young Indian girls to return home, having received their training in Ryde. Work had begun on the scheme 5 years previously, and the money had come from appeals and donations, including the Vatican. And also 50 years ago, born 1880 and still going strong, the county press featured an 88-year-old, still most commonly seen on his motorcycle. George Bucket of Knighton had bought his first motorcycle at age 26 and continued to ride 62 years later. He said on his first trip he rode 160 miles on a tour of Devon and never wanted to stop.
25 years ago, which is November the 26th, 1993, a worried island mum mounted a campaign to persuade parents to boycott school transport until coaches were fitted with seat belts. Lynn Williams, a ride mum of 2, said her 2 sons would not go on school trips until something was done, and she urged island parents to do the same. The Isle of Wight Rural Community Council warned village life would be under threat if the government imposed VAT on transport. There were concerns the taxes would result in many being left without vital lifts and unable to afford the hike in bus prices. Additional concerns were put forward regarding ferry prices.
And 10 years ago, November the 28th, 2008. In a surprise development, major wind farms were all but banned from the island. The island plan set out strict new criteria for any such development and ruled them out on beauty spots, and the 11 places that were potential sites were immediately dropped. But also 10 years ago, more than 120 Woolworths staff at 5 different island stores were anxiously waited news about the future of their jobs. Commonly referred to as Woolies, Woolworths had stores in Newport, Ryde, Cowes, Sandown and Shanklin. The uncertainty came after the national company announced it could go into administration. And also 10 years ago, Osborne House put on a Victorian Christmas.
And we now move on to Wight memories. Isle of Wight aviators of Great War are remembered. This is by the Wight Aviation Museum. Barely 4 years after the very first aeroplane landed on the Isle of Wight in 1910, there were men up in the air fighting the enemy over the trenches at the Western Front. The Royal Air Force did not even exist at that time, and aviation was still in its infancy, yet men from the Isle of Wight were distinguishing themselves, flying with the Royal Naval Air Service and Royal Flying Corps, including such well-known island names as Attrill, Chiverton, Jolliffe, Mew, Russell and Urry. Over 400 men who called the Isle of Wight home and served in the Air Forces during the First World War have been identified by Wight Aviation Museum. Isle of Wight casualties range from 18 to 47 years old, coming from all island communities. The names of almost 100 airmen who lost their lives are being researched by the museum. Here the museum lays out a short summary of just a few of those brave men who sacrificed all. Stanley Winther Cawes, aged 36, was the very first island aviator to die in the Great War. He was born in St Helens in 1879, and after serving in the Boer War, he served as a trooper in Paget's Horse, and later as a prospector in Canada, joining the Canadian Expeditionary Force coming to England. Cawes transferred to the Royal Flying Corps, that's the RFC, in February 1915, and on training as a combat pilot at the unusually old age of 36, was posted to No. 10 Squadron, one of the first Royal Flying Corps squadrons to be created. With his observer, Lieutenant W.H. Sugden Wilson, Second Lieutenant Cawes was out on a reconnaissance sortie in a 2-seater Blériot Experimental 2C on the morning of September the 21st, 1915, when they were attacked by Fokker aircraft and shot down by German Air Ace Lieutenant Max Immelmann. James Dacre Belgrave, aged 21, was from Sandown and was a captain in No. 60 Squadron and an Air 18 Victories Air Ace. Only 1 month after his squadron colleague Captain W.A. Billy Bishop received the Victoria Cross on July the 18th, 1917, Belgrave was awarded the Military Cross. His citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and devotion to duty, on at least 5 occasions he successfully engaged and shot down hostile aeroplanes and has consistently shown great courage and determination to get to the closest range, an invaluable example in a fighting squadron." In April 1918, his squadron joined the newly formed Royal Air Force and he was killed in the Somme flying an SE-5 fighter east of Albert. Only months later, aged 21 years old, on June 3, 1918, Keith Ingleby Mackenzie, aged 18, was born in Ryde. Second Lieutenant Mackenzie served with No. 16 Squadron RFC and was on photographic sortie flying a Bristol BE-2G aircraft when he was shot down and killed west of Vimy de Bonneval. The shooting was claimed by the German ace of aces, the Red Baron, Right Master Manfred von Richthofen, his 39th of 80 total victories. Second Lieutenant Robert Naylor, Treadwell MC, aged 24 of Parkhurst, was shot down and badly wounded on August the 11th, 1917, and died on September the 9th, 1917. He served with No. 2 Squadron RFC, where he flew Bristol F-2B aircraft. The citation for his military cross read, "Although very severely wounded during a combat, he succeeded in bringing back his machine against a very strong wind to his aerodrome, saving both machine and observer by his great pluck and determination." Second Lieutenant Clifford John Tolman, aged 23 of Ulverston Manor Farm, Whippingham, flew as an observer with No. 22 RFC and RAF and was killed in a Bristol FE-2 fighter with pilot Captain Thompson east of Cambrai, the day of his 7th air victory. Wight Aviation Museum held a centenary commemoration for Second Lieutenant Tolman in October. Today, the Wight Aviation Museum is actively researching in partnership with the Commonwealth Family History Research all the First World War airmen who came from the Isle of Wight to create the first ever Isle of Wight Aviation Roll of Honour.
Now we're moving on now to the regular column headed My View. This is by Matt Chatfield. Is there really gender equality in food? He asks. We were dining out a while ago with a couple of friends, one of whom is a vegetarian. After their food had been delivered, they wordlessly swapped plates, in a manner suggesting long familiarity. The waiter had delivered the vegetarian dish to the lady in the party, even though it was the gentleman who had ordered the veggie food. This, our pals assured us, was a very common occurrence. It set me to thinking that I soon realised that this went well beyond hoary stereotypes of vegetarians being exclusively female. I hesitate to throw any more fuel onto the flames that currently represent the debate about maleness and femaleness, but it does seem to me that what we eat is more about gender than we might imagine. Take a very well-known foodstuff, the classic English pork pie. I'm fond of a pork pie, but I'm aware this is an affection not shared by many women I know. Sure, women will eat pork pies, maybe enjoy them, but to my mind, the sort of person who will go into a shop for a quick bite of lunch and come out eagerly hugging a pork pie is almost invariably male. Sausage rolls and Scotch eggs are maybe one notch further towards the female end of the range, but still something I would expect to see relished by a man rather than a woman. By the time you get to filled rolls and sandwiches, it is a free-for-all. Although I'd be willing to bet that more men will buy a barbecue pulled pork sandwich as opposed to, say, chicken and avocado. It turns out, predictably enough, product designers know this well and manipulate us into buying things that reinforce these stereotypes. Studies have shown how people in different countries think about food, and it turns out everywhere men prefer salty and fatty foods and women prefer sweeter ones. But within these preferences, the variety of food preferred is very much learned. So in America, women crave chocolate a lot more than men do. In Spain, it's about the same for both sexes. The suggestion is American women have been manipulated into wanting chocolate for advertisements and marketing. Presumably, the same is true for men eating crisps and porky snacks. This kind of subtle signposting is something worth knowing, and not just because it's important for our gender identities, it's also important for our health. Men and women can both eat healthily if they choose to, and maybe one way we can do so is to bust out of food conventions and eat some things we might be less inclined to try. I had a stunningly good vegetable burger the other day, which had no meat or salt in it. And women, how about you ditch the chocolate and eat an apple for dessert? We're embracing gender equality in many parts of society, so let's do the same with food. Pork pies are for everyone, not just chaps like me.
We now continue with the unstoppable rise of the vegan mafia. This is by Jake Harrison. It is a lifestyle choice that has become anything but a fad. No matter which way I turn, what restaurant I'm in, or what Twitter post I'm reading, the word vegan is showing up more than ever. The cabbage culture is also massively popular on the island. The question is, should I feel bad because I'm not a vegan? First things first, I'm a terrible cook. I try and I try and I try, but ultimately I fail miserably, and I'm left with nothing but anger and failure. I come up with aromas you'd smell on an industrial estate and produce the sort of stuff you'd usually find floating down a canal. It's fair to say I have the temperament of Gordon Ramsay and the cooking ability of a wheelbarrow. So naturally, I just give up, and because I'm also quite lazy, I opt for a takeaway with my housemate. This normally involves something so disgustingly expensive and meaty, it's likely to my wallet pump saturated fat around my veins towards a premature heart attack and grease my forehead. It would also probably destroy any welcoming invitation to the vegan club. Ah, vegans, these mythical creatures who thrive on a belly full of bean sprouts and broccoli. How on earth do they do it? I used to have the perception vegans were all the same. I used to think they were pretentious, self-righteous people in bright, hippie-coloured clothing who would hang on about ethical facts and statistics. Judge non-vegans and clog up your Facebook news feed with the pictures of innocent piglets next to a heart and gut, wrenching quote of some sort. There's that old tiresome joke. You always know if you encounter a vegan, they'll always tell you. And it's true, most of them do go on. Go vegan, they said. I'm off to McDonald's, I replied. So why should I go vegan? Let's get one thing straight, vegan virgins. It's not all salad and bean sprouts for breakfast. There's a lot more to it than that. You see, vegans choose their diet for a variety of reasons. Many abstain from animal products because they find factory farming cruel and also inhumane. Veganism is a lifestyle choice that avoids all animal foods such as meat, dairy and eggs, and animal-derived products such as leather and, as far as possible, products tested on animals. Many people also become vegan simply for environmental reasons, and others choose the diet purely for its health benefits. I'll be honest and admit I didn't know vegans could get all their nutrients without animal products. Veganism on the island is also becoming more popular than ever, with many restaurants now serving vegan options, creating a new and exciting dining experience. The Isle of Wight's first all-vegan restaurant, Pulse, opened its doors in Ventnor back in May, and I recently read in this very paper a vegan-themed night took place down at Key Arts, and it was a massive success. So how can I stop feeling guilty about my love of burgers and expensive leather jackets? Or should I feel bad at all? Personally, I could never become a vegan, or rather I could, I just don't want to. But that's my choice. I admire anybody with the aspirations to protect and preserve the planet as long as they don't try and force a courgette down my throat and make me wear sandals and beads. Everybody is different. One personal recommendation I would make to vegans and vegetarians is to be compassionate to all humans too, not just all animals and plants. I believe you don't have to be a vegan to protect the planet, and you can love animals and still eat them. That is, unless you're a trophy hunter, who, in my opinion, are the worst people on the planet.
Going on to look at a few items from the What's On section. Various things going on. Lots of Laughs with the Vicar by Martin Neville. This December's production from the Apollo Players needs no introduction. The stage play of The Vicar of Dibley is based on the popular sitcom of the same name. The TV show was so successful in the main due to the larger-than-life mix of memorable characters, all of whom will be on stage doing what they do best, making audiences laugh. Whether it's Mrs. Cropley's ham and lemon curd sandwiches, Owen's graphic descriptions of his bowel movements, Frank's dilemma over whether to minute the fact he's taking the minutes, or Jim's no dithering, audiences will enjoy some familiar moments of fun. Cleverly enough, this is not just a rehash of a TV script, but a melding of storylines into a coherent play, which takes us from the villagers' consternation at the arrival of a female vicar with a bob cut and magnificent bosom, through to the wedding of Hugo and Alice, rivals for lowest IQ of the year. Has whetted your appetite for the escapades of Geraldine and her Dibley flock, The play runs from December the 7th to the 15th, not Sunday or Monday. Tickets are available from the Apollo box office and website.
And we continue with Victorian activities. For a taste of Christmas past, head to Ventnor Heritage Centre for all things Victorian and festive. A Victorian family Christmas is being held tomorrow, which is Saturday, and Sunday from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. at the Spring Hill Centre. Meet a chimney sweep and his friends from Living History Group, the Vectis Victorians, as well as in-house Victorian volunteers. There will be traditional games and activities, a chance to dip in the bran tub, buy homemade Christmas cards and hamper raffle. There will also be music and a tot of wassail for the adults, and a Dickens delight as well, it seems. Origins Theatre is celebrating Christmas with its silliest show ever. The island-based company has rewritten the Dickens classic to create a sort of Christmas carol. Origins founder Kevin Wilson said, "It's a cross between Morecambe and Wise and a pantomime. We are aiming to give everyone a much-needed night of laughter, bell ringing, carol singing and dancing too. A sort of Christmas carol is at Key Arts at 7 p.m. on Thursday, next Friday and Saturday, December the 7th and 8th.
And young talented musicians in the spotlight. The Isle of Wight Youth Concert Band, a group of talented young musicians who come from all over the island, will be performing a Christmas concert at Medina Theatre, Newport, on Sunday at 2:30 p.m. The band was founded in 1969 as the Bembridge Young Community Club Band, with the objective of giving young musicians the opportunity to perform together in an out-of-school activity and enhance their musical ability. Today, although under a different name, the ethos is still the same, and the band meet weekly to practice and perform concerts throughout the year, under the baton of conductor and musical directors Martin Stroud and Donna Brimani. Martin and Donna work with both the senior band and the smaller junior band, which was formed for younger musicians who are working their way up the grade levels to then join the senior band. There is a committee of volunteers behind both bands who are responsible for its continued development, organisation of concerts, fundraising, and the well-being of the musicians. Next year will see the band celebrating its 50th anniversary, and it is to the credit of the directors and musicians that many of the youngsters go on to pursue musical careers. Tickets at £9 and £5 are available from the Medina box office.
Tree Festival, all set to sparkle. More than 200 trees will be involved in the 22nd annual Bryston Christmas Tree Festival, which starts with a Lights of Love carol service at St Mary's Church, Bryston on Wednesday at 7 p.m. The service will be for Mountbatten, with the tree lighting by its Chief Executive Nigel Hartley, and it will also be attended by Island High Sheriff, along with Councillor Laura P.G. Wilcox, Chairman of the Isle of Wight Council, and other council members. The main focus of a packed schedule of events between Thursday and Sunday is Bryston itself, with tree displays at St Mary's Church, the Methodist Church, Wilberforce Hall, Three Bishops Pub and reading rooms. There will also be trees at Mottiston Church and Isle of Wight Pearl. In addition, There will be children's trees in Bryston Community Library, and on Saturday and Sundays Santa will be appearing in a winter wonderland at the Exchange in New Road. Over the weekend there will be concerts, carol singing, handbell ringing, craft fairs, mini market, lace making demonstrations, cake and biscuit raffles. A free park and ride will operate from Isle of Wight Pearl and Bryston Holiday Centre on the Military Road into Bryston Village, with a further free shuttle service to Mottiston and back. All donations will go to local and national charities. The festival has raised around £120,000 for charity since it first started. The festival is supported by the County Press.
And tenor and soprano saxophonist Art Thiemann is coming to the island next Saturday, December the 8th, and will be accompanied by the Nick Page Quartet. Art Thiemann has been a mainstay of the UK jazz scene for many years, having formed a long-standing collaboration with Stan Tracy, which ran for more than 20 years. The gig is in Newport Methodist Church, Key Street, at 7 p.m. Tickets are £10 and can be bought at the door or reserved by email at inquiries@iwjw.co.uk.
Bob's in demand for Christmas concerts. Bass baritone Bob Wilkinson will be appearing at a number of functions over the Christmas season. The popular Shanklin singer is preparing to be busy performing carols and festive music. On Thursday, Bob will be singing carols and variety at St Faith's Church at Cowes at 10:30 a.m. Next Saturday, December the 8th, he will perform at Shanklin Methodist Church's Christmas Tree Festival at 11:15 a.m. On Thursday, December the 20th, he can be seen at Carisbrooke Priory's carol service, along with the Salvation Army and several other performers. The evening starts at 7 p.m. Bob has been involved with singing for many years, finding it relaxing and especially rewarding in the run-up to Christmas. He started as a young chorister, and it has always been a big part of his life.
And that's just about all we've got time for today. So it's goodbye from Jan.
And it's goodbye from Mike. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Vectis Radio, FM 104.6, bringing the island's community together.
You're listening to Vectis Radio, FM 104.6, and me, Kelvin.
And me, Maggie.
And we have the lovely Chris in from Sight for Wight for the Insight for Wight segment of this show. Good afternoon, Chris.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so before we start talking about what you want to talk about, all right?
Yeah.
What do you think of the Doctor Who? Go on.
Okay. I think she's okay. I think we need to give her a chance. I think the stories are enjoyable. They're not too intricate.
Yeah, I would go that far, yes.
Yeah, so although...
They're understandable, which some of them
they are
were
understandable,
previously,
yes. I wouldn't say any particular episodes are outstanding.
No.
But I think it's enjoyable. And yeah.
Yeah, it is a much more open structure for the show, isn't it?
It is, yes,
and,
yes.
She does remind me of someone.
She does remind me a lot of someone who's probably not listening, so we can mention who it is.
Carol Bridgestock.
Carol
Bridgestock. Yeah. Same accent, same rapid speech.
Yeah.
And
never-ending
talking. And absolutely lovely, let's put it that way. So, yeah. I mean,
she'd know we'd say that about her.
I know. They could have called Carol Bridgestock in that part.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's very good. She does talk a lot, though.
She does talk a lot and far. Yes, as you say,
very fast.
Yes,
which is fine because it suits the narrative. But I'm sitting there thinking, "Whoa, hang on a minute, take a breath."
Do you think? I mean, I think a lot of the actors that have played the Doctor have always said they don't feel that they've been the Doctor until they've encountered the Daleks. So maybe she needs to encounter the Daleks to truly.
Yeah,
possibly.
Could be.
What do you think?
It could be. I don't know. I wouldn't call myself a Doctor Who aficionado. I'll watch it if it's on. I didn't watch it when the last guy was on because I found him boring. To be blunt, I didn't like him at all in that part. But that's just me. And then I thought, I'll give this new one a try, see what she's like. And she's actually very good.
Yes.
gone very multicultural, isn't it? Very
Yes,
multicultural.
very much.
Which is great. I've got no problem with that. But it's suddenly you've gone from it almost all being about white people to just everything.
Yeah.
Which is quite fascinating to see. Anyway, we shall move on.
What about Bradley Walsh?
Bradley Walsh.
Bradley Walsh is being Bradley Walsh.
Yeah, well, Bradley Walsh is all right. He's not threatening in any way, is he, Bradley Walsh?
He's just being himself.
I think he's very good. I think I feel the same way about him as I did about Catherine Tate when she did the role as Donna Noble.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought, no, that's not going to be any good. And I thought she was fantastic. And I think Bradley's really good.
Yeah, fair enough. I've got no extra grind there. It's something we'd watch. I have to say, not that you can miss programs these days because you can watch them forever. But if we'd missed it, I think we missed it, and it's not something I would get too worried about. But it's a good now it's Sunday evening.
It is,
which doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right. I
It
agree.
should be Saturdays.
Saturday tea time.
Saturday tea time before the adult shows come
Yes.
Yeah.
on.
Because it is a children's show.
Oh, it is, yeah. I do get slightly wound up. Like, oh, well, they didn't do this, this and this. And it's a kids' show. So stop getting yourself so wound up about it. By all means, be a fan and have a bit of fun, but don't get too obsessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Anyway,
talking to Chris.
It's talking to me now.
I know I'm
about
talking to you, and I know you're a sensible man, so you'll
Most of the time.
you'll understand what I'm talking about. Is that there's one person, I won't mention his name, but with the previous series, the opening sequence was a lot of bits of clocks.
It was, yes.
And they said, "Oh, it's a bit predictable." Well, no, it wasn't. Otherwise, you wouldn't have said it was predictable, would you? They haven't done it before, so why are you getting so on your high horse about it being clocks? It's to do with time travel.
Yes.
Anyway, Chris is obviously from Sight for Wight, and you've been running, probably tearing your hair out by now,
Pretty much.
for the Christmas story writing competition. So how's that all going?
It's all going nicely, thank you very much.
Good.
Yeah, obviously the closing date has happened.
Yes.
Yes.
The lovely Maggie and I have...
We counted things.
we
and
did, didn't we?
ticked things in boxes.
Yes, so anonymised.
Anonymised
Yeah.
and sent them off to mystery judges.
Mystery judges.
Yeah, that was it.
That was
you
mystery.
spent a while closeted in the Sight for Wight headquarters in
Yes.
Harrisbrook,
Yes.
doing things with paper.
I know.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. So, yes.
But
so
it
we're-
was on film, so you can watch it.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
yeah,
very
yeah.
It's
good.
nothing serious.
No.
No. Well,
Secret.
nothing
Nothing
secret, but
secret.
it was serious.
Oh,
isn't it?
yes.
This
Oh,
is a
yes.
serious competition.
Yes, it is,
Yeah.
indeed.
Okay, so now the mystery judges are reading them or have read them.
Have read them.
Oh, wow.
Oh, right. So
Yes.
you've got an inkling as to what's what now. Then.
I do. And I have to say, I have just started to read a couple of the stories. Fantastic.
That's
Good.
Fantastic.
So the next stage then is the ones that we're not going to reveal anything here at all.
No.
But we will say what's going to happen next, which is you're going to get the top ones recorded.
Yes, the top four are going to be recorded by a celebrity. I know we've named them before, but we'll name them
Name them
again.
again,
if
by
we
all
may.
means.
do, yes.
We have Joe Brand.
Yes.
We have Melvin Hayes.
Mm.
We have Idana Minghella.
Yes.
And we have Kate Weston from
Yes.
Wave 105.
Yes, indeed. So we've got four lovely voices.
Yeah, all totally different.
Yes.
Totally different view on things. I'm interested to hear what Joe Brand makes
Me
of some
too,
of them.
yes.
I can imagine Kate Weston because I've spoken to her, lovely lady.
Yes, you did, didn't you?
And she's got smashing diction, really,
Yes.
much miles
She
better than
has,
mine.
yeah.
And Idana Minghella, we know, has
She does
got a
it
lovely
beautifully,
speaking voice.
Yes.
Uh,
and singing voice.
and singing
Oh,
voice
yes.
too. But Joe Brand, I've heard her speak and I've heard her chairing panel shows, that kind of thing. But I'd be interested to hear how she does the drama of a story.
Yes.
That would be very interesting for me.
Yes.
And so,
Meryl Streep next year?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
it's
Yes.
going to be Jodie Whittaker next year.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, there's
Carol
a
Carol
challenge.
There's
Bridgestock.
Yeah, we get Carol and just say it's
Nobody'd
Jodie.
know the
No,
difference.
that's the thing. If anybody's not sure what we're talking about, we don't know either. So now, when they're recorded, we're now getting perilously close to the awards evening, aren't
Oh,
we?
when
Yes.
is that?
It is on Monday the 17th of December.
Not long.
Yeah, the door open...
2 week Monday.
Is it really?
Yeah,
goodness.
something like that. Yes,
Because,
I think
yeah,
it might
Monday's
be.
the
Yeah, it
3rd.
would be. Yeah.
Monday's the third, 10th. Yes, 2 weeks Monday.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Thanks for that, Kelvin.
That's all
really
right.
put the pressure on
No,
now.
I forward to it.
Got to do your recordings now.
Yes.
We call it, so that's where we get to hear them at least a little bit, or whatever it is, the programme for the night.
Yeah, well, this year, all being well, we should be able to hear the under 12s and 11 to 17-year-old stories in full.
All right.
All right.
Hopefully that'll be good. I just want
Before or after the announcement?
there'll be a little snippet as Kevin,
per.
Yeah.
as per, and then we will
All right.
probably read
Okay.
the celebrity will
Yeah.
read the winnings. It's very careful. I'm trying to be very careful that I don't give too
course,
much away here.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's fair
Absolutely.
enough. So that you get a chance to hear at least some of the stories on the night.
Yes, yes,
And the prizes were given out by various celebrities who were there on the night.
yes.
And it's been a great evening.
It will be a great evening. We've gone.
And they will be played out here.
Oh, fantastic! Yes, please.
All the stories will be played out here on Vectis Radio.
And I have to say, you guys have been fantastic with the support that you've given.
Thank you.
Not just for the story writing competition, but just generally with Sight for White. You know,
Yeah,
you've been
we do
very
our
supportive,
best.
and it is appreciated
if we
very
can
much.
help on the night, we will do so.
Thank you, and you do help on the night.
We will be there. The two of us will definitely be there.
Fantastic, fantastic.
It's in the diary, so I'm definitely going.
Excellent.
And it's going to be a lot warmer.
It's going to be a little. Last year
Oh.
was freezing.
It was freezing cold. Yes, the boiler broke at the
I
Minster
know.
day
I'm so
before.
sorry. It was so cold for
It
everybody.
was,
wasn't
yeah.
So
sadly.
Miriam will be there.
Yes, Miriam will be there.
She's very elegant last year.
Yes.
Even though it was below zero, in my opinion.
I don't know how she
No, I don't know how she
survived.
You know,
quite
everyone else
honestly.
is wrapped up in duffel coat. She's got an evening gown on.
Yes,
And I'm
yeah,
thinking, you must be freezing.
yeah.
But she didn't say
She didn't say a word.
No.
But, so
Ever.
that's the evening, and then people go away with their prizes.
Mm-hmm.
Are the rest going to be recorded by your lovely people at the Speaking newspaper?
Yes, we are planning to, just because of how the catchers have gone this year, we are going to record probably 12 of the adult stories, not 10 this year, but 12.
Okay.
So, yes, we have selected the volunteers who will be
Oh,
doing
right.
the reading.
When will that be ready to go?
Well, that's basically, we are starting to do the recording at the end of, in fact, Friday. That's going to
Oh, okay.
start. So, certainly they'll be ready for the night, but, yeah.
Could we have them? We could play them over Christmas.
You can, yeah, absolutely. They'll
Christmas
be ready
and
for
New Year?
definitely
Well,
after
I
the
don't know
17th.
if you're listening, Ian, we might have some more stuff to play out over Christmas and New Year. Now
Yes.
be banging your head against the brick
No,
wall.
we can program it in. I'm
Yeah.
So
sure.
I listened in last year. I know you played the stories last year.
Yeah,
for
we'll
us.
definitely play the winners, that's for sure. We'll make
Yeah.
sure those are in one of our shows over the Christmas period. And maybe
Because I
some-
imagine the stories, if they're as good as last year's, would be brilliant.
Yes, yeah. Say from what I've read so far, some cracking
Oh, that's
stories.
good.
Yeah.
Excellent
The
stuff.
imaginations.
So
Yeah.
obviously we got the celebrities, or not the celebrities reading out. Some will be there, maybe not. I don't know. It depends on their availability. But you'll be there,
I'll be there. Yes,
and we'll be there, and presumably the parents and the writers and those who've who entered the competition will be there.
they will indeed. Yes.
And but everyone else is also, anyone else is can come along if they want to.
Isn't
Please
there
do.
a choir as well?
There's going to be it's free admission, so anybody
Yeah.
can come along. There is a choir, melodic choir. I would just like to say a little bit about the choir.
Should we do that just after the break?
Yes,
because
great.
we got to. I just looked at the time and think,
Chatting away, aren't we?
we still have the lovely Chris Kane in
We
from
do
Sight
have
for
the
White.
lovely Chris
Now, you've got something to say hello to before we go on what you were going to say, haven't you?
Yes, I've got my friend Chris listening in Cardiff. of all
Cardiff.
places.
Chris and Chris.
Chris and
Chris
Chris.
and He spells it with a K.
Oh, well, he
Oh,
had
right.
to be different.
Yeah.
Is he Welsh?
No, he's not.
He's allowed to live in Cardiff and he's not Welsh.
They've let him in.
Wow.
But whether they let him out is another matter.
Well,
Yeah, well, because they're going to remove the tolls off the bridge soon, so he won't cost any money to
he'd
get
be able
out.
to escape then.
I think the toll's only on the. I can't remember which way it is
Oh,
now,
I don't know.
but it's only one way. Because you have to pay to get into Wales, and it's free to get out. Or the other
Yeah, I can't
I
remember.
can't remember. It's something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, 'cause we took our caravan across that bridge a while back.
Oh, did you?
And the surface on it is horrible. It's worse than some of the roads on the Isle of Wight.
And that's saying something.
Anyway, you come here to talk about the story writing competition
Yes,
and the actual event and things like that.
Yes, I was. I'm sorry you couldn't shut me up earlier.
No, it's fine.
We tried.
Oh, you did try, didn't you? I wanted to mention Melodic, who are a choir. They're going to be performing
All
at our
right,
award
yeah.
ceremony, but they've been extremely supportive because not only are they helping us at this ceremony,
Yeah.
but they also did a bucket collection for us last Saturday, which I also was there
That's
doing
nice.
at St Thomas Square,
Yeah.
singing some lovely festive songs. It
Yeah.
was fantastic. It was freezing cold. It was almost sleeting, I would have to say.
On Saturday,
Yes.
yes. It was.
But they braved the elements, and it was a nice afternoon.
Wonderful.
And it raised people's spirits.
Good, that's what we
And
need.
some money.
So they'll be there.
Some money, yes.
And just give us the date of the ceremony again.
It's
award
Monday the
ceremony.
17th of December. Doors open from 6:30, which is when the bar opens. And the actual ceremony will start at 7. We've got the lovely Huxley as well, who's going to be doing some magic for us too.
Oh, that'd be great.
And it's free parking.
Free parking.
And it's free parking.
It'd be a great evening. Don't forget, if you're coming to the Riverside Centre, you cannot get in from the town centre in the usual way.
Oh, yes.
You have to come in via the hotel. So if you're coming from the west, basically, up the Fairley Road, turn left at the petrol station, turn left at the hotel, and come along the quay. That's how you get in by car.
Keep going straight, don't
But
turn right.
if you're not that bothered, you can. What time does it start again?
6:30 the doors
You can
open.
park in the council car park for nothing
Oh, of
after
course.
6 o'clock,
Yes.
and walk under the underpass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's
just
not
as
that
it-
far,
it's not
it's a
that
couple of
far.
minutes.
So there's plenty of parking. Be a great evening.
And it will be warm.
Don't let the fact that I'm going put you off.
No.
There'll be, as I say, it'll be fun. From the years before, when you play those little snippets, you see people realise it's their story.
The faces.
The faces just light up,
Yes.
don't
Great,
they?
isn't it? Yeah.
Fantastic. So we're really looking forward to it. And I think that there aren't any more sessions for you coming in before that, are there? I don't think so.
No.
I have to check the book. So we will push it again and again in the next
Thank
few
you.
weeks. But yeah, come along, because the people have written, loads of people have written stories.
They have.
And they've all been judged by some top people, who I don't know who they are, but they've got to be top
I've
people.
no idea.
Yeah, they are top people.
And
Yeah.
they'll be recorded by top people as well, so it'll be great fun. And
And they
a
will
great
be
event.
played here on Vectis
We
Radio.
will be played here on Vectis Radio, and
you.
I'm going to chat to Chris offline about getting them in before Christmas so that we can program into the Christmas schedule somewhere.
Can other people buy the CDs
Yes.
upon which they are recorded?
Yes, they can.
All
Will
right.
they be available on the night?
They will be available on the
Excellent
night
stuff.
this year,
Will
yes.
they be expensive?
No, they won't. We're looking at maybe a $5 maximum.
And that's
But
all that money goes to
It will
Site
come
for
to
White.
the charity.
That's
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
point, is to raise
Brilliant,
money for Site for
yeah.
White and have a bit of a laugh as
Yes,
well.
but people need to know they can
They
buy
do.
things.
Yes, and you know, you might get some of the authors to sign the copies. You know?
Yeah.
Yes, you never know.
You never know. Or you can have a rare unsigned one.
You could, yes. But I think what I just want to mention is, again, people's generosity with the competition particularly. Everyone has been so kind, so supportive.
Oh, that's good.
That's
You
good.
know, companies have been donating and helping out. This is for year 3. You know, places like the White Mouse and others have been fantastic.
Yes.
So really,
Excellent
really
stuff.
quite sort of chuffed. And
Excellent. Because
That's
there will
good.
will there be a raffle of some sort?
there's going to be a
Always
raffle. We've got a £100 prize.
Ooh.
Cash.
Cash, £100.
Cash.
Just
Oh,
before
just-
Christmas.
just give it here.
How handy will that be?
That'd be very handy, wouldn't it? So, you know, come along for that. If you don't want to come for anything else, come along for the cash.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in, Chris. Always nice to see you.
My pleasure.
And we'll chat again shortly. In the meantime, we'll take a break and come back with a bit of John Bon Jovi.
Your support matters. We operate thanks to the support of local businesses. If you would like to advertise on Vectis Radio, FM 104.6, contact our team today. Marketing at vectisradio.fm.
This is the BBC.
This is In Touch, the magazine programme for people like me who are blind or partially sighted. I'm Peter Wight. Thanks for downloading this week's edition. Good evening. Tonight, it sounds like a dream role in a legendary TV show.
Norway. Definitely Norway. Soil?
A cottage in winter with a chimney but no smoke. What's got you so scared?
It takes you away. It takes you away.
We meet the young visually impaired actor who will be watched by millions next week. But first, an eye condition which, to my knowledge, we've never featured on In Touch before. Doug Banks began to experience problems with his eyesight around 4 years ago. Initially, his symptoms were put down to overwork and a stressful job, both by Doug and his GP. But when his difficulties persisted, Doug took things into his own hands and began to do his own research. Having ruled out direct eyesight problems, he went back to his GP, who ordered a full health check, including an MRI scan. What they found was surprising and devastating. It turns out that Doug has a rare form of Alzheimer's disease known as PCA, or posterior cortical atrophy. Well, I've been talking to Doug about PCA's effect on him and finding out more about the disease generally from David Reynolds from Alzheimer's Research UK. Doug first.
My eyesight is fine. The main problem for me is that what I see cannot be interpreted by my brain. My brain can't work out what it is I'm looking at, what I do with it, where is it. There are some weird things about it as well. I can read very small print, but I can't read a newspaper. I've looked at signs 6 feet high and can't read them because my brain can't process it. Okay, another one is playing golf. If I try and play golf, I can't hit the ball. But I can play badminton because the shuttlecock's moving and that's not a problem. And that's weird. It's almost counterintuitive.
What's happening to Doug's brain is similar to what happens to people who develop kind of ordinary symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. Parts of his brain are degenerating and his brain cells are dying off, and that's producing the symptoms he has. The key difference is in Doug's case, in posterior cortical atrophy, it's the back of the brain that has these problems, and that's the bit of the brain that processes the visual information coming from your eyes.
And one of the first symptoms of this, as you say, is vision loss, not memory loss. Why does that happen?
So it's all to do with which bit of the brain is affected by the disease. Because it's the back of the brain that processes the information coming from your eyes, not just the picture that your eyes collect, but also putting it into context of what the different objects or scene is about. And if you're trying to do something like, say, pick up a cup of coffee, using that information to guide your hand to the cup of coffee. And because it's that bit of the brain that does that kind of processing, that leads to the symptoms that people like Doug can struggle with.
So you didn't have any experiences of memory loss?
No, and this is why it's different. Some people don't get that sometimes because it's less about memory and it's more about the visual. Of course, in the latter stages, it's meant to become similar to classic Alzheimer's and with memory loss and, not being able to recognise people and things like that. There's one or two other aspects of it which affects your ability to read and write. I can't read and write so well now. I can't do calculations. I can't handle money very well because I can't see what I'm dealing with there.
Which obviously all these things relate to work. You were doing a fairly high-powered job, and one of your concerns is that you want to be able to go on doing something useful.
Yeah, I've worked in the IT business for, getting on for 30 years, and I can't depend so much on the fact that I can get things done as quick, or I might miss things out, or I've got to get someone to check things. Although I've still got the same knowledge, the same experience, I can't get to it as quickly.
Many of the people who have PCA are relatively young, kind of 50 to 65 as a typical age of onset. So a good 10 or 15 years earlier than, say, a typical Alzheimer's patient. And of course, the symptoms are very different. So often someone might go to have their eyes tested, for example, and find actually their vision is fine, but that doesn't explain the symptoms that they are having.
Now, Doug is desperate to work. Can people go on working in the early stages of this disease?
It really depends on Doug's symptoms and what kind of work he does, also whether he can get support from home and the workplace to enable him to keep working. So it's a difficult question to answer. Certainly we would encourage people to go on living as normal a life as possible and try and work out ways you can compensate for challenges with vision or other aspects of the disease. But it is a very individual thing.
And it must be very frustrating if most things still seem to be working fairly normally, not to be able to do some of the things that you've been trained to do.
Absolutely. As with all of these diseases that affect your brain, it has an enormous impact on the person themselves and often on their family and friends as well.
You've had a diagnosis which has all kinds of implications, including a shortening of life. You're in your 50s. Why is it so important to you that you work?
I work. Well, obviously, as a professional person, work is a big part of your life. The credit crunch didn't help matters, shall we say. But also the fact that people say to me, well, why don't you just finish work and go and just, live every day and experience things? Fine, but you need money for that. And because I've got no income now, I've had no income at all since last November, it's not something you can simply cope with. You've got to find ways of carrying on, shall we say.
Just explain how Doug's disease might progress, given that the vision loss or the vision difficulty of interpretation happens first?
With these kind of diseases that are a neurodegenerative disease, so your neurons, your brain cells are dying off, it starts in a particular part of the brain, in this case the bit that processes visual information, but it will spread to other areas. So as posterior cortical atrophy progresses, it tends to lead on to symptoms with problems with remembering, with thinking, with being able to recognise objects or people, and that will get worse and worse over time as the disease progresses.
And can you give us any kind of time scale on this?
So there's an awful lot of variation between different patients. It will typically be over a number of years, 5 to 10 years, but some patients will progress much more quickly, some much more slowly. And unfortunately, as scientists, we haven't really got to the bottom of why that is or how to slow it down.
This is very unusual, Doug. What would help you? What are you looking for, really?
Well, what I'm thinking of, I'm suddenly coming to terms with the fact that I'm not going to get back to my job, and so what I'm going to do something else now. And I'm thinking, well, what can I do? Forget what I can't do. What can I do? And whilst I'm still fit and well, I can get out and about. I'd like to do something that's worthwhile, in terms of maybe something around dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever. But I need to be in a position where I can earn money and pay, support my wife and so on. And obviously I'm thinking ahead, planning ahead to make sure she's safe, in the long term.
And do you have a prognosis for that and how it might continue to develop?
Well, the prognosis is that once you're diagnosed, I was diagnosed in July 2016, your life expectancy is within 10 years.
And as far as the visual aspect of it?
On the visual aspect of it, it's basically, it's progressing aggressively, and, each day is a challenge, I guess, yeah. I've got several pairs of glasses at home. They don't really help much at home, and the prospect is, I had a neurologist appointment in October, and he suggested that what it actually turns out to be is like looking through a broken mirror, a shattered broken mirror that you can't, you can still see colours and shapes, but you can't interpret any of it.
That was Doug Banks, and before Doug you heard David Reynolds of Alzheimer's Research UK. If you want to know more about Doug's condition and the support available, you'll find links to the charity and to a video giving more information on our website. Finding work is also on the mind of Jenny Hutt.
Thank you for covering the issue of those losing their sight who aren't children or older people. I was recently diagnosed with inherited retinal degeneration when I was in my early 40s. It's been frustrating trying to find any services locally or nationally to meet my needs as a parent and someone who wishes to find employment. Services generally offered to me are during the working day, therefore making me feel as though it's expected that I will never get a job. So far, I've been offered numerous craft groups, coffee mornings or trips out, none of which is relevant. How will I remain an active, useful member of society, not sidelined and just able to meet up with people socially?
Well, Ellie Woolwick could be forgiven if finding work doesn't seem too much of a problem for her at the moment. Every actor longs for that big break, and for Ellie, it could hardly have come much bigger or much earlier. She's 18 and next Sunday she'll be playing a leading role on one of TV's most enduring series. Doctor Who's already broken new ground with this series with the first female Doctor, and next Sunday Ellie will be playing the lead guest part, and she joins us from our Hereford studio. So Ellie, first of all, very exciting and congratulations.
Thank you.
But tell us as much as you can about your lead role without spoiling the plot.
Her name's Hannah. She's a young teenager and she's completely or near on completely blind, and you first see her really, she's sort of been in this cottage for a while, and there's this monster lurking in the woods and lots of sort of terrifying sounds, and she's a scared character. The first time you see her, she's frightened. And then lots of interesting things happen to her.
But they haven't actually travelled in time, have they, for this? I think you're in the present, aren't you?
Yes, the present
Which is
day.
unusual.
Yep.
So how did you land this part, Ellie?
So I did a film when I was 11, and from that film I got an agent, and over the years she's been getting me some roles and some auditions, and I think it was September last year she put me up for an audition, and I didn't actually know what it was at first. I had no idea. It was just major BBC drama, lots of secrecy, can't tell anybody. And then I got the audition and it was for Doctor Who, and I went for it in London and I got the part, which is wow.
I gather your dad is a big Doctor Who fan.
Yes, massive fan. He
so
loves
what's
it.
his reaction to this?
The first time when I told him that I was going for an audition, we were actually in the car and he came back from, I think it was like getting some petrol or something, and he didn't speak for about 5 minutes because he was so shocked. He was like, what? Because it's his childhood show, really. He loves it. He loves the show.
Dream come true for him. You mentioned earlier experience that there was a film called Imagine, wasn't there,
Yes.
that we featured on In Touch?
Yes, that's right.
Is that what kind of got you really hooked on this?
Yes, because I remember doing it and feeling really, really happy and feeling really at home, and it made me want to do it even more, and the Doctor Who sort of part underlined that, so it's really made me want to pursue it more.
So is that kind of part of the Ellie Woolwork life plan now, acting?
Yes.
Because you've got various other strings to your bow, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't really know what I'm going to do. I kind of want to keep my options open because I don't want to commit myself to a career path right now, but I definitely love to pursue acting in the future.
Tell us a bit more about the filming on what was that like on such a set, on such an iconic show? I hate the word, but if ever it applies to anything, it
Yes.
applies to this.
It was amazing. I always felt like I belonged and I always felt included. They made a lot of effort to make me feel at home, really. They always helped me in terms of like guiding me around the set, and we always blocked out scenes beforehand. And filming with the cast was fantastic. They're all so funny and I got on with them so well, and I really, really felt happy there.
Did you have to do any stunts?
Well, actually, I had a stunt double, which is really hilarious to say, but I
Was
did
she
do
blind?
a couple. No, sadly not. But yeah, I did a couple of stunts, but not anything too serious because I wouldn't have been able to do it, I don't think.
Right. But it absolutely lived up to your expectations,
Definitely.
obviously.
I mean, I don't really know what expectations I had. I mean, it's Doctor Who. What can you think would happen?
Let's just talk a bit more about you, because when we first met, you were at mainstream school and you're now at a specialist college in Hereford.
Yes, that's right.
How is that different and why have you gone that route?
So my independence wasn't great when I was in mainstream because I pretty much gave everything up for my A-levels and GCSEs. And so I wanted to take a gap year anyway before I went to uni, because that's what I planned to do next year. And I wanted to get some support for independence and IT and living skills and that kind of thing. And I decided on Hereford because it seemed like a good step, sort of not quite, sixth form, but not also uni. So it was a good transition.
People react in different ways. Sometimes people who've always been at mainstream going to a college that's just for blind people feels uncomfortable. What about you?
I had a lot of adjusting to do, I think. I love the place, honestly. I think it's great and I think it's done a lot for me. There's certainly, it's not been easy because I wouldn't have expected it to have been because I've spent all my life in mainstream, but I think I've adjusted really well and I'm really enjoying myself now.
So I have to ask you, how have your new fellow students reacted to your stardom?
I don't really know. People have been approaching me and been like, oh, is it true you're in Doctor Who? And I haven't really known how to react. I've just sort of
Are they a bit annoyed you? When people come to somewhere new, it's bad enough, you have to fit in. And then it turns out that you're this megastar.
Lots of people wondered, I'm not really a megastar, but lots of people have wondered why I didn't say. And I was like, well, I couldn't, because if it had got out, then it wouldn't have been great. And I needed to keep it secret, which was so difficult.
You said some things had been difficult, difficult to adjust to. Can you give us examples?
Honestly, it's mostly living away from home. Like the social environment has been completely fine because I don't know, I fit in really, really well. But it's mostly getting used to just doing stuff on my own. It sounds really weird. Like I sort of, when I first put my washing on myself, because I didn't know how to do that before because my washing machine at home was a touchscreen. It was, I don't know, it felt like I was achieving something.
So these were things that perhaps, you did get a bit spoilt about at home, which you're now having to do.
Exactly. And I, far from being like, oh, I have to do these, I'm actually reveling in the independence. I've always wanted to be independent and this is the closest I've ever got. And that's made me happy. Like even just simple things like cooking or just doing things I wouldn't have ordinarily done at home because I was focused on studying and stuff like that. It felt like a victory, really.
Ellie Woolwork, yet another victory then for you. thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
Doctor Who, starring Ellie, is on BBC One. That's Sunday the 2nd of December at 6:30pm. Ellie's next step may well be university, where she'll be entitled, like other visually impaired students, to disabled students allowance. Now, that's meant to help with the extra costs of your disability when you're studying. Could include things like access technology, transcription of coursework in an accessible form, help with getting around the campus and taking notes in lectures. But a number of organisations, including the Pocklington Trust, have written to the Department for Education saying the allowance isn't working as it should, especially when it comes to finding the right support workers for students. Tara Chataway explained what they wanted from the government.
The technical guidance is very specific on the type of support that a student can receive. If somebody has an assessment and they need support that's not on that list, then they're not able to receive it. And it's kind of very generic, actually. It doesn't really match the needs of some of the students. And the second part of it is that it has a very, very strict list on the type of qualifications that those people providing support should have. And it doesn't allow for experience. So they're told, OK, you should have however many hours a week, but then there's not the right numbers of people out there with that specific qualification to be able to provide that support. So I've heard from a number of students at the moment in their first year of university who've gone their first semester with no support because they can't find the right people to support them.
Tara Chataway. Well, the briefing that they sent has been acknowledged by the Department for Education, but they're still awaiting a full response. But in a programme dedicated to students next week, that's just one of the things that we're going to be discussing with a panel of students. You can call our action line with your thoughts on 0800 044 044, email in touch at bbc.co.uk or click on the contact us link on our webpage. From me, Peter Wight, producer Lee Kumatat and the very latest star of Doctor Who, goodbye.
Goodbye.